As we commemorate the events of September 11th, OPB salutes the heroes, remembers the departed, and analyzes the attacks and their aftermath. In television and radio specials, OPB looks at how our country and our society have changed. For a complete schedule, log on to opb.org/9/11.
Sarah, my love for you is deathless. It seems to bind me with mighty cables that nothing but omnipotence can break. And yet my love of country comes over me like a strong wind and bears me irresistibly with all those chains to the battlefield. If I do not return, my dear Sarah, never forget how much I loved you, nor that when my last breath escapes me on the battlefield, it will whisper your name. Sarah, do not mourn me dead. Think I am gone, and wait for me, for we shall meet again.
This fall, the landmark film by Ken Burns returns to PBS, The Civil War. Also coming this fall, the best of Ken Burns, America's storyteller. Stories about the brilliant, the defiant, and the impossible. Stories of incredible accomplishment, of people whose lives and ideas changed us forever. Hosted by the director himself, PBS presents the new series, Ken Burns, American Stories.
He was the first president to deal with terrorism in the Middle East, to heal the wounds of Watergate and Vietnam.
I, Jimmy Carter, do solemnly swear that
He promised the nation a new beginning.
If he wanted to do something, he tried as hard as he could.
But economic collapse, international conflicts, and his own stubborn character would plunge his presidency into crisis. American Experience presents Jimmy Carter.
Come listen, all you gals and boys, I'm just from Tuckahoe. I'm going to sing a little song. My name's Jim Crow.
The minstrel character Jim Crow delighted white audiences, and the set of laws named after him demean black citizens.
The whole world in which I was raised in Georgia was one of rigid Jim Crow and segregation.
Laws that pitted neighbor against neighbor, and were a constant horrible reminder to blacks of their place in society.
It was very hard for me to be sitting on a bus and a white man get on that bus, a drunken white bum, and tell me, nigga, get up and give me that seat.
This season, explore how it all started and finally ended. The rise and fall of Jim Crow.
He was America's first true celebrity.
He was the embodiment of all they thought America to be.
A scientist, inventor, and statesman who helped craft our independence, secure crucial alliances, and set the course for America's future.
It astonishes me that we have come as close to perfection as we did.
The life and times of an American original, Benjamin Franklin.
We sent a modern family back to 1940s wartime England to see how they deal with 1940s technology.
And who's going to do the 101 things that need doing?
Food rationing and shortages.
Have you eaten some chocolate cake?
Kirsten, I was hungry. But there comes a point where I have to eat more than just dried bread.
And, of course, air raids.
Is he still on the toilet?
From the producers of Frontier House comes another family bonding opportunity.
It was 9 weeks living on the edge, really.
1940s House.
A Across the country, people are digging in their attics.
$6,000, $8,000.
Really?
That's amazing. Flocking to flea markets.
What you have here is absolutely unbelievable.
Oh my goodness, really?
And looking at their old stuff a little differently.
If you're using it as a doorstop, I'm sure you don't think it's of any great value.
You have got to be kidding. Holy mackerel.
Your favorite show is back for another season.
I can't believe that.
Antiques Roadshow.
Funding for local broadcast of Nightly Business Report has been provided by viewers like you and by the following.
SAFE Corporation, working for Oregon to prevent on-the-job injuries and to manage the cost of workers' compensation insurance. SAFE, on the job for Oregon.
Wells Fargo, proud to support our communities with quality family programming.
The chips are down for Intel. Softening demand for computer processors has the company revising its third quarter outlook. We run down the numbers and get some analysis on what's ahead. Good evening, I'm Paul Kangas.
And I'm Susie Garab. A spate of bad news about the economy means bad news for Wall Street. The Dow falls 141 points and the Nasdaq drops 41. Then hooray for Bollywood. India's film industry is booming and American and European audiences are the beneficiaries.
Nightly Business Report is brought to you by
In today's network economy, who can help business respond when opportunity logs on? For e-business services, the answer is the people of Deloitte & Touche.
Franklin Templeton Investments, providing a perspective for success through Franklin, Templeton, and Mutual Series funds. Franklin Templeton Investments, gain from our perspective.
A.G. Edwards, helping businesses raise capital and address complex financial challenges. A.G. Edwards, trusted advice, exceptional service.
Good evening, everyone. Less than chipper news from Intel today. After the bell, the world's largest maker of computer chips said its revenues will come in on the low end of its previous estimates. Intel now expects revenue in the third quarter to come in between $6.3 billion and $6.7 billion. Previous estimates ranged as high as $6.9 billion. No earnings guidance was given today, but analysts expect Intel to post a profit of 13 cents a share for the quarter. Joining us from Chicago to talk more about Intel, Jeremy Lopez, semiconductor analyst at Morningstar. Hi, Jeremy.
Hi, Susie.
Well, so what was your reaction? I know you were listening in on a conference call after the news. What was your reaction to these numbers?
I think it was actually a bit of a relief. Going into this call, I think investors had assumed a more bearish scenario, and they really only revised the upward end of their guidance a little bit. They didn't revise the downward side of the revenue guidance, and they didn't revise the gross margin guidance, which I think some had been preparing for given the weak demand of PCs right now.
Well, speaking of the weak demand for PCs, we know that back-to-school sales have been kind of weak in the PC area. Business spending in this area has been weak. Any indication from the company about when demand is going to pick up?
Well, Intel recently conducted one of their routine price cuts, and they actually mentioned on the call that pull-through from distributors is actually starting to improve a bit. So that is a little bit encouraging, but I still have I'm pretty skeptical that the Christmas season at least is going to be a big bang. However, I don't think it's going to be miserable either. I think it's going to be disappointing, but not great.
And in terms of the competitive environment, is AMD making life a little bit tougher for Intel?
Well, they have historically over the last couple of years, but actually over the last couple of quarters, Intel's regained some of its competitive luster. They've started to regain some market share, and they've accelerated their product roadmap at the high end, and that forces AMD's pricing down. And Intel's been pretty aggressive on pricing itself. So the whole end of the spectrum, AMD's a tough competitor, but Intel's stepped it up of late.
As I reported just a moment ago, Intel didn't give any guidance about its earnings. What is your sense of how the company is doing vis-a-vis the bottom line?
Well, You know, they have seen a lot of gross margin pressure lately, and that's a function of, one, competition, and two, the fact that a lot of lower-end PCs are being sold, and that's manifested in the company's gross margins. But they've also put in place a lot of more efficient manufacturing techniques recently, and that's helped a bit. So the net, their earnings outlook isn't bad. Obviously, being the largest manufacturer of semiconductors gives them a pretty big scale advantage. But in the broader macroeconomic environment, earnings are a little bit depressed.
In terms of the stock, Intel was up in after-hours trading, and that was after hitting a 52-week low in regular trading. Why the positive reaction?
Well, like I said, I think investors had prepared for a worse scenario. There was a lot of pessimism in the market leading up to this call, and so the fact that they didn't revise anything drastically was actually a positive surprise. And since they're not really taking a firm stance in the fourth quarter yet, I think investors are waiting to see what it's going to be like.
All right, we'll leave it there. Thank you very much, Jeremy.
Thank you.
We've been speaking with Jeremy Lopez of Morningstar.
Investors had a host of economic news to sift through today, including weaker than expected retail sales. Walmart's same-store sales rose 3.8% last month, while sales at Target, Federated, and Sears all fell. Economists say consumers avoided the malls, buying big-ticket items like cars and homes. Meanwhile, factory productivity grew at an annual rate of 1.5% during the second quarter, its most sluggish showing since last year. And the service sector expanded at a slower than expected rate, shown in a drop in the Institute for Supply Management's non-manufacturing survey. Experts say the economy is stuck in slow gear.
We are in a period where the economy is growing, but not as fast as it was. And on a comparative basis, we still look better than we did late last year. But we're not quite continuing the type of growth that we started the year with, and I think that's a bit of a disappointment for a lot of people. It would be better if we were to see the growth start to accelerate again, but maybe that's a quarter or two down the road before we begin to see things getting very healthy.
But things weren't very healthy at the start of Wall Street trading today. Those soft economic reports sent stocks into a sharp sell-off as investor hopes for any near-term pickup in corporate earnings were badly dashed. An hour into the session, the Dow Industrial Average racked up a 208-point loss, and the NASDAQ index fell 39 points. The steep downward spike attracted bargain hunters, and the market's partial recovery was also helped by Procter & Gamble's forecast of better-than-expected earnings. At noon, the Dow trimmed its deficit to 100 points. The NASDAQ index was down 30. The market attempted to rally in early afternoon, but with so much discouraging news on the economy and then the possibility of military action against Iraq, about the only stocks that rose were the golds. The Dow Jones Industrial Average went on to close with a loss of 141.42 points, or 1.7%, and now stands at 8283.70. The NASDAQ Composite dropped 41.31 points, ending at 1,251 even. Big board volume down just a touch from yesterday at 1.32 billion shares, and almost 3 times as much down volume as up volume. The Dow Transports had a terrible day, losing nearly 111 points. The rails were the weakest segment there, and the utility index off just a small fraction. The closing tick barely bullish at plus 174. Standard & Poor's 500 off exactly 14.25. 100 off 8.84. Similar loss in the mid-cap 400. CRB Futures Price Index was up 2.38. A loss of exactly 6 points of the New York Composite Value Line, down 5.5. A loss of almost 8 3/4 in the Russell 2000, and the Wilshire 5000 dropping just about 134.25 points. The bond market moved modestly higher in reaction to those reports depicting a lackluster economy. Adding to the upturn was safe haven buying linked to the possibility of a war with Iraq. As yields along a broad front fell to 40-year lows, tax-free and corporate issues rose 8 3/4, as did most of the Treasury market. 5-year notes up 7/32, 9/32 gain in the 10-year note. And look at the yield on this 30-year bond, 4.78%. And finally, the Lehman Brothers long-term Treasury bond index up about 2 3/4 points. I'll be back shortly to show you where the action was on Wall Street today. Susie?
Well, if you're traveling September 11th, you'll find some of the rules have changed. The Federal Aviation Administration announced today new restrictions for passengers, including mandatory seating for 30 minutes after takeoff and before landing, and at 6 airports around New York and Washington. The agency also is severely restricting small private airplane traffic in the Northeast Corridor that day, the anniversary of the terrorist attacks.
In the days after September 11th, few observers would have predicted that Malaysia would be among those to experience fallout. but that's exactly what happened. The initial impact was largely negative, but soon it became clear that 9/11 helped turn around the fortunes of the country's government, particularly its long-serving prime minister. Ryan Meltzer reports from Kuala Lumpur.
Malaysia had plenty of reason to worry just after September 11th. Tourists, the government feared, were viewing all Muslim countries with suspicion, and they worried that foreign investors were going to do the same.
We were concerned that, these developments would have a long-term impact on the country's economy. Fortunately, after a while, the true picture of Malaysia began to emerge.
That picture was of a moderate Muslim country, of a government that was tough on militancy, and of a Prime Minister, Mahathir Mohamad, who could be a very useful ally in the war against terror.
Of anti-terrorism with Malaysia.
In recent years, Mahathir had faced much criticism from the US for his decision in 1998 to restrict the repatriation of foreign investment capital, but especially for the jailing of his former deputy, Anwar Ibrahim.
We share a deep concern about terror.
But since last September, the US government has muted its criticism and actively courted Mahathir, reassuring for American investors and for Malaysian business, given that the US is by far Malaysia's largest trading partner. The terrorist attacks have also helped transform Mahathir's domestic fortunes.
Well, I think it's given Dr. Mahathir a new lease of life. From being on the defensive, he's been able to go onto the offensive.
Even before September 11th, the government had been rounding up suspected Islamic militants and detaining them without trial. Its actions now appear vindicated.
At the same time, support for the main opposition group, the Islamic party PAS, appears to have dropped. The party's ambivalent reaction to the attacks of September 11th and anti-American protests helped the government to paint its opponents as Islamic radicals.
Analysts say the government's increased strength and confidence likely played a part in Mahathir's momentous decision to step down as Prime Minister next year.
No, I have decided.
And hand over power to his deputy, Abdullah Badawi. It's expected to be a smooth transition, both from the political and economic standpoints.
Abdullah Badawi would want to continue these policies. There would be some changes in style, perhaps, but the basic substance of policies and the overall thrust, I think, will remain.
Meanwhile, even the negative impact of 9/11 on tourism appears to have worn off, and another unexpected positive has emerged. Arab tourists, wary of security tie-ups and possible hostility in the West, are choosing to travel more in Asia. And one of the big beneficiaries, moderate Muslim Malaysia. Ryan Meltzer, Nightly Business Report, Kuala Lumpur.
The House committee investigating Martha Stewart's sale of ImClone stock says it has, quote, reached the end of the road, end quote, and may take legal action against her. The panel says Stewart's phone records appear to contradict her account of the trades made back in December. An announcement on possible action is expected next Tuesday. Stewart's spokesperson declined comment. Paul?
Well, decline was certainly the operative word on Wall Street today as the Dow moved ever closer to the 8,000 level with its loss of about 141.5 points, or 1.7%, and 1,002 more issues declining than advancing, and 10 more new highs than new lows. Quest Communications topped the activists on 22.75 million shares, down 40 cents, was up 34 cents yesterday when the company got a new credit line, but today Moody's downgraded the company's debt rating 2 notches to CAA1. General Electric in there with a 70-cent loss. Citigroup dropped $1 full, and then Pfizer off 35 cents. Nokia bucked the overall trend with a 24-cent gain. AT&T up 9 cents, and EMC edged up 2 cents. Ford Motor, which was downgraded early in the week by UBS Warburg, off 36 cents. AOL Time Warner, 48-cent drop. And Liberty Media, 10th in big board volume, down 28 cents. Albertsons, the big grocery chain, up 88 cents. Second quarter operating earnings, 54 cents a share. That's versus a loss of 37 cents a year ago. Those earnings in line with Wall Street estimates. Canadian National Railway, down $2.50. The company says 2002 earnings will be at the low end of its projected 5 to 10% growth rate. Goldman Sachs off $2.61. The House Financial Services Committee is widening its probe into initial public offering allocation practices, both to Goldman Sachs and now CS First Boston as well. Procter & Gamble up $1.29. As I mentioned, company says first quarter earnings will be up a better than expected 15% over last year. Target down $1.22. August same-store sales were flat, and it says 31-cent earning estimate for the third quarter could fall by 1 to 2 pennies. And then Walmart off $1.40. Its August same-store sales up 3.8%, but that was well below expectations. Cooper Company's up $6.25, star of the day. Third quarter earnings nicely higher, 86 cents versus 67 last year. Revenues jumped 48%. Company predicting fourth quarter earnings of around $1. Robert Barrett Brokerage upgraded it from neutral to outperform. The company's a specialty healthcare firm. Best Buy up $1.60. Second quarter same-store sales rose 2.7%, and the company expects to meet or beat fourth quarter street earnings estimates of 18 cents a share. Anglo Gold Limited up $1.53. New York December gold futures up $3.30 to $319.80 an ounce. CKE Restaurants falling $1.81. Second quarter earnings of 18 cents versus a big loss of 73 cents last year, but the company cut its fiscal 2003 guidance from 60 cents a share down to only 50 to 52 cents, and that's obviously what hurt the stock. CSX, the big railway, off $5.60. Company warned third quarter earnings will be hurt by weak coal demand from utility customers. CS First Boston downgraded it from strong buy all the way down to hold. And National Semiconductor off $1.70. Yesterday, the company forecast flat second quarter revenues, or maybe even down 5% from the first quarter. Bear Stearns today downgraded it from buy to just attractive. NASDAQ trading a loss of 41 1/3 points in the index. Volume moved a little bit higher on the sell-off. For every 9 stocks up, nearly 23 down. Microsoft topped the active list, down $2.30, hurting the Dow. Concord EFS off $4.58. The company cut its forecast for the full year this year. Intel off $1, but as you heard earlier, got up around 16 after the close. Cisco System down $0.50, and Amgen fell 92 cents a share. Dell Computer, 78-cent drop. KLA 10 Core losing $1.44. Similar drop in QLogic. And then Oracle off 48 cents, while Applied Materials, 10th in dollar volume, was down 63 cents a share. Trend Micro up $2.66. This is Japan's biggest security software firm, and the stock will be added to the Nikkei index sometime before October, early October. And then we see ZI Corporation down $1.19. The company lost a software patent infringement lawsuit to a unit of AOL Time Warner. And Pegasystems losing $1.45. Fulcrum Global Partners analysts made some negative comments about the company's revenue outlook. The American Exchange Index down just a small fraction. Competitive Technology bouncing back 49 cents. It was down 54 cents yesterday when a 16,000 share block was overhanging the market. Apparently, it was all bought up and the stock bounced back. And Vista Gold up 67 cents, as I mentioned. December gold in New York up $3.30 an ounce. And finally, the index shares all fractionally lower. And that's the Wall Street wrap-up.
Tomorrow, our Friday Market Monitor guest is Nancy Tengler, CEO and Chief Investment Officer of Fremont Investment Advisors. Tonight's commentator has his own views on the state of corporate America, and as usual, he's not afraid to be blunt about them. Here's Alan Sloan, Wall Street editor of Newsweek magazine.
You can always trust Wall Street to carry things to extreme and ruin them. Look at how Salomon Brothers gave Bernie Ebbers, the former head of WorldCom, a chance to buy shares in hot initial public offerings. Salomon let Ebbers buy almost 900,000 shares in 21 IPOs, giving him a profit of around $11 billion. Sure beats the minimum wage. It's no secret that people do favors for each other, but Wall Street has taken it to a whole other level, where it moves from being a favor to what we'd call a kickback if it were done by guys with trash roots instead of by an investment house. Sure, Salomon letting Ebbers buy all that stock is the same principle as a drug company giving a nice trip to doctors who prescribe lots of its drugs, or an ad agency taking clients to a ball game. But a gift worth $11 million is a lot different from a trip to the Bahamas or tickets to the Lakers playoff game. Salomon says that Ebbers got to buy all this IPO stock because he was a good customer in his own right, and that WorldCom, being a good investment banking customer and paying zillions of dollars of fees, had absolutely nothing to do with it. Believe that, and I've got a bridge in Brooklyn I'd like to sell you cheap, or maybe a few thousand shares of WorldCom. I'm Alan Sloan.
Recapping today's market action, another slide. The Dow fell 141 points. The NASDAQ Composite lost 41 points. And please be sure to join us at our worldwide website, nbr.com.
And finally tonight, it's lights, camera, action all over the place in India. With films like Monsoon Wedding, Indian filmmakers are winning awards and wooing audiences everywhere. Anish Trivedi looks at how the country's movie makers are hoping to make it big on silver screens around the world.
You on time? I'm beginning cameraman now. Once I become famous, I can also be late.
It's the largest film industry in the world. Over 700 films are made every year in India. Mainstream Indian cinema in Hindi has earned the nickname Bollywood, a badge it has begun to wear with pride. But only a handful of these films are seen outside India. Until a year ago, the ones that made it overseas ran in theaters that catered to expatriate Indians in the UK and the US. But with the success of international films like Life is Beautiful and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, Indian filmmakers are setting their sights beyond what's called art house cinema in these countries.
That we decided to go out for a quiet meal instead. Thai pavilion, he loves Thai food.
Language is really not a barrier anymore. It depends on how well the film is embraced by the audiences. And today you can go right up to, say, 2,200 screens like Crouching Tiger eventually went up to.
Among the first Indian films to go big is Hyderabad Blues, a $40,000 independent film and one of the few made in English. Budgets are closer to $1 million now and visibility is higher. And filmmakers need to be certain who their audience is.
The moment we start catering to international audiences, we will not be catering to our audiences. So a filmmaker, therefore, has to be extremely clear whom he's making the film for.
Films like the Oscar-nominated Lagan and Golden Lion winner Monsoon Wedding began by testing the waters at the film festival circuit.
If you have won an award in an international festival, a big award, then invariably you can, at that moment, or the next 3 months, pre-sell the 3 or 4 major territories. United States, Canada, UK, Japan. You can pre-sell.
For the first time, Indian films are seeing some real money on the screen. Lagan, a period tale of patriotism, has earned $10 million so far, helped by a nomination for Best Foreign Film. Monsoon Wedding director Meera Nair's savvy marketing of the film has helped bring in $22 million.
Meera knew how the market works internationally, so it got that kind of exposure. It was sold that way, and it's become the biggest grossing Indian film in America of all time, and it's entered the all-time top 10 grossing foreign hits.
While that has producers happy, not everyone believes Bollywood movies are ready to take Hollywood by storm.
Very few are really on par or for a foreign audience. So I think as far as even English movies, for it to like a Split Wide Open or even Bollywood Calling, to really appeal to not just the festival audience, but a hardcore American audience, it's going to take us a while to get there.
Like the old cry of the pioneers, that direction says go west. And while it might take India's movie makers a while to get there, they're already learning to do lunch. Anish Trivedi, Nightly Business Report, Mumbai.
Looks like he's having a good time. That's Nightly Business Report for Thursday, September 5th. I'm Susie Garrow. Good night, everyone. Good night to you, Paul.
Good night, Susie. I'm Paul Kangas, wishing all of you the best of goodbyes.
Nightly Business Report is brought to you by Franklin Templeton Investments, providing a perspective for success through Franklin, Templeton, and Mutual Series funds. Franklin Templeton Investments. Gain from our perspective.
They bend metal. They mold silicon. They reach out across oceans. They lend a helping hand. Who do companies like these turn to for professional services? The answer is the people of Deloitte and Touche.
A.G. Edwards, helping businesses raise capital and address complex financial challenges. A.G. Edwards, trusted advice, exceptional service.
And made possible by viewers like you. Thank you